Ragged Friends Show.
Christopher, welcome to the show. I'm so excited you could be here today. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do and what you blog about?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I have my personal blog, and that started with mostly just blogging about writing. And then I blog where I actually make a little bit of money doing it for a podcast production company and some of their sponsors.
So when did your blogging journey begin?
Let's see. Oh, I had to write it down because I couldn't even remember when I tried to remember. June 21st, 2019 is when I wrote my first blog post on my website. So that's when it started. And then probably within a few months of doing that, I met up with some guys that wanted to talk to me about that on their podcast. And I ended up working for them and starting my own podcast.
So was the podcasting first or was the blogging first?
The blogging was first.
Okay. What did you do before that? Like,
but by a short margin.
Okay.
Before that, I was a middle school teacher.
Really? Middle school? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I was a substitute teacher for 2 years in another lifetime, and I could never go back. So when did you decide to stop teaching and start doing stuff in the content creation side of things?
My wife had our fourth kid, which we were not expecting, but it worked out. And it just didn't really make sense for me to be teaching anymore for the amount of money that we were going to be spending on childcare and everything else. I was barely bringing home anything. So I started doing the stay-at-home dad thing and started blogging and writing a book and ended up doing podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So now my certificate is gone. I guess I could go back and get it renewed if I wanted to, but I kind of like where I'm at.
Yeah, our educators in this country do not get paid enough money. Absolutely. It's I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine like trying to handle all those expenses, especially childcare, and that take-home pay from an educator perspective. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So now you said you blog a little bit about writing. Do you still blog about that specifically, or do you do more than just that on your website?
On my blog now, I'll blog about my podcast, about some of my friends' podcasts. Every now and then I'll drop something about writing, but when I first started the blog, all I was doing was writing a novel. So that was the epicenter of my entire world was writing. And so now I still will write about it from time to time. But yeah, it's a little bit random what comes out on my personal blog.
Okay. Now is the blog monetized?
No, it's not. I've used it to
Let's try that again.
How to speak English. Yeah. I've used it to like trade professional services with other people where I've said, hey, if I can get some attention on whatever you're doing, will you give me a discounted rate, or, we'll just swapsies if it's worth that same amount monetarily. And so I guess I've not completely not used it, but yeah, I don't make steady income with it.
Okay. So in terms of monetization, what are you doing for that aspect of things? Is it strictly blogging for the podcast hosting company, or what do you do?
So I blog for the podcast company as well as some of their podcasts. Okay. And then from time to time, one of their sponsors will say, oh, you have a blogger who, you seem to like, gets some results. And so I've gotten stuff from them. And then people have reached out to me from sponsors that said, oh yeah, this guy, we hired him and he did a good job. So.
Okay, cool. So do you do ghostwriting for like other websites or?
Yeah. I've worked for, people that were trying to promote social issues. I did some stuff for a hospital that didn't get credited. Some writing for people I'm in Michigan, and we have recreational and medical marijuana here. So I've written for people in the cannabis industry, personal improvement, mental health, religious issues.
So it sounds like a lot of the stuff you've been doing has been based on like referrals and word of mouth. Have you actually gone out and advertised yourself at all?
I did a little bit, but then I got to a point where I started getting people asking me to do more than I could say yes to. So I just went back to the old school referral system. But I had like a contact page on my website that said, I write, here's some of my stuff. Contact me if you're interested. But as of right now, that page is asleep.
That's amazing. Wow. So to someone who wants to get into what it is you're doing, what would you recommend to them?
See, I'm not a good person to probably ask that because I've literally just fell into it. Somebody said, "Oh, you write a blog and you're writing a novel? Come talk about all that on my podcast. Hey, you should start a podcast. Will you write our blogs?" And so I guess more than anything, I just kind of put out there into the universe, I'm a writer. I do writerly things. And that's one of the more in-demand things right now.
Now, would you say that that the podcasting has been helping you with the networking, though?
Oh, for sure. And it goes both ways too. But the podcast, I also started that thinking that would be a good way to reach out to potential blog clients, or when this book comes out this summer, get people, in the know about the book. But since then, I've made a lot of friends that way. I've made professional connections that way. And it's been, well, as I'm sure you know, podcasting, it's done a lot more for me personally than I expected it to.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I started mine, I had no idea that people were actually going to care.
Yeah.
I mean,
for a while, they didn't care about mine. I was telling somebody that I got more downloads on a single day last week than I did in like the first 3 months for a whole month of podcasting.
well, it is amazing how much the industry has just blown up just since 2019, because 2019 is when I went to my very first podcast movement and kind of became addicted to the idea of the medium. I bought my domain for Blog Your Friends show in 2016, and I'd been talking about it since then. I was like, I'm going to podcast about bloggers, because I was already blogging about blogging. And so I was like, yeah, I want a podcast that's all about bloggers and spotlighting bloggers. And then I kind of just sat on it and was afraid to launch. And then in 2019, an opportunity came my way to go to Podcast Movement. I learned about it and just became obsessed, like right off the bat, because the community of podcasters, it's fascinating how caring they are. I mean, and I'm not talking about your like super influencers that are, oh, do you know who I am? But the ones that are like, the OGs that were, really getting into the business for the art of talking to people and for getting their message out there. It's just such a fun community.
Yeah.
Now, so what is your podcast?
I've seen that a little bit across other mediums too, because going into what I podcast about, it's called Creative Ops. And I just talk to creative people and we talk about their creative process. And usually it's around like an hour or so. So we'll talk about, whatever personal stuff comes up too. But, yeah, everyone says the same thing. Like, yeah, when you just dive all into something, whether it's an art community or a blogging community or a podcast community or a writing community, there's a lot of people that you would expect would hold their secrets and not want to let you get one step ahead of them. But everyone's, oh, yeah, you do this, you should do this. Somebody you should talk to is this person over here, and they could probably help you with that. And everyone wants everyone to succeed. It's a lot less competitive and more enthusiastic than I thought it would be coming into writing communities and podcasting communities.
Now, would you say, I kind of already have my biases on this, but I really want to know what you think about this. Do you think a blogger getting started today needs a podcast?
I mean, I would tell anybody to start one, regardless. If you're trying to do anything that's, kind of in the entertainment sphere, podcasting is a great way to network and get the word of mouth out. Do you need one? No, but I think it definitely would help your outreach.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I feel about it is, I know this one guy I interviewed for a company podcast recently. He was basically saying that they used to do all of their efforts were on guest blogging. Like it was what they would do. He did like PR and all that kind of stuff. And he would constantly just be, you got to go and guest blog for everybody. And now he's like, doesn't do any of that. It's all guest podcasting, because he says guest podcasting is the new guest blogging. And it's so much faster because, you already have all this knowledge in your brain. You have all this expertise in your brain. So rather than trying to figure out, okay, what ranks for SEO, I can just tell you about the shit I know.
Yeah, for sure. Because people say, why? How do people pay you to write blogs? Why would it's all search engine optimization?
It really is.
Ultimately.
Yeah, because I mean, and it's so sad because like the most, the largest expert in any field, if they can't optimize it the way that Google wants it to be optimized, then you're never going to find it. And
you need the right keyword density, the right thing in your H2 headings. And
Yeah. So then they need a podcast so they can wax philosophical on everything that they're thinking.
That's right.
So how often does your podcast come out?
It's weekly, unless I, say I'm taking a break. I usually do around the holidays or sometimes in the summers. But otherwise, it's every Monday.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, with an interview every other Monday, and then usually like a 10 to 20 minute solo that just kind of talks about whatever I'm doing or things that I've learned about the podcast or whatever's, socially happening.
Okay, so we've already alluded to the fact that you and I met through a tweet that I put out. I had put out a cattle call, if you will.
Honestly, I didn't see that first. My friend Jason, who started the podcast company, he's like, dude, this sounds perfect for you. So I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah. And
that's awesome. So how do you find your guests though? How do you go about finding people to be on your show?
A lot of times I'll see somebody in the moment and go, hey, I have a podcast. And a lot of times I'll do it. A lot of people are just game for it. So I've seen musicians at shows and been like, hey, I have a podcast. And I'll do it. Or Instagram, a lot of times, if I see somebody who just has like an original page and they're a writer or an artist or a comedian, I'll reach out and ask if they want to talk for an hour. And, when you first start a podcast, they'll look and see like, oh, you have 2 podcasts. No, I'm good. But they'll, you got to bug some friends and people to come on. But after a while, then, people see that it's a real show. It's got some consistency to it and it's a little bit easier.
It's amazing how receptive people have been to, if you have at least more than a couple of episodes, they're like, okay, I'm in. Yeah. Do you ever get nervous?
Just released 6 episodes for his first drop because he was like, I just want people to be able to kind of dive in all at once.
Yeah, that's really smart. That's very smart. Do you ever get nervous whenever you're outreaching?
Not really. I get more nervous when I'm about to talk to somebody because I'm a pretty outgoing person anyway, but just to like, oh, we're doing this. No backing out. It's going to be on record. Okay, here we go. Whew.
Yeah, like, oh shit, it's being recorded. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. The first half dozen times I was probably like more nervous than my guests and they were looking at me like, is this guy okay?
Yeah. It's funny because every time I hit record or even if I'm just like turning on the camera, we're doing this on Zoom right now. But every time that I hit record, I still get those little butterflies. Like it's so funny. Yeah. I'm an outgoing person too. I love talking to people. I love, interacting with them. But even I'm just like, uh-oh. And then of course, like the worst part is whenever you completely forget everything you wanted to say. That's why I've gotten really good about, I have all my notes of everything that I sent to you. It's all right in front of me so that if I forget something, I can just look really quickly and go, okay, yeah, I really wanted to say that.
Yeah. I'll usually think of some bullet points ahead of time. And then if I am just sitting there and go, look down and go, we haven't talked about that yet. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that.
I love that. I love that.
And then I edit out my moment of, so it sounds like I'm a lot better at this than I really am.
Yeah, sometimes I just leave them in because it's like, I kind of like the raw and the real a little bit. Yeah. Like, you want to be a little polished, but I kind of feel like for my podcast, it's been a lot more just like the fun and the not as polished. Because, whenever I'm doing it for clients, I know I have to be, very Ashley's professional. but here I'm like, I'm just talking to my friends. I don't care. That's why. That's part of why
especially when you write professionally, everybody's constantly like, oh, I shouldn't say ain't in front of them, or I should make sure that I'm using do I use the Oxford comma or do I not?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's the other good thing about podcasting is you don't have to think about any of that when you're talking. It's like, who cares if I, am not using the exact proper language? So that's awesome. Yeah. So now, your website, ChristopherTallon.com, is there a reason you chose to just have it be your name instead of something other than just your name?
I think I'm just bad at titles. At one time, I tried a couple out and just every time I went to it or wrote it down or told somebody that it was called something else, I was like, ugh. So yeah, I know like Chuck Wendig is a science fiction writer / kind of horror writer who I tried to kind of model mine after his at first, and his is called terribleminds.com. That's an awesome website name, blog name, but I was super unoriginal and just went with my name.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that though, because at least, you're branded. You are the brand. Yeah. So what do you see for like the future of your blogging, your podcasting, and all of that stuff?
Well, I've been using money that I've been making from blogging to put towards this book that I'm self-publishing this year, because that costs more than I anticipated it would, but it's nice to have full control on things too, because I talked to some small publishers who were like, yep, we've got our own editor and we've got our own book designer. I was like, I don't really want to use your editor or your book designer. So the blogging, as far as all that goes, will continue to go on kind of in support of the other writing and podcasting things that I've been doing. And the podcasting, at first I just thought it was going to be a here, this is how I'll build an audience. But it's really become more of a community. So
yes, podcasting is definitely a community. So tell me a little bit about your book. Well, you said it's coming out this fall?
June 3rd is the tentative date for that right now.
Okay. So what's it about?
Somebody's going to format it. I got another guy who I'm supposed to talk to tonight about the cover. It's called Switchers, and it's a time travel thriller, I guess you could say. It's not super hard on the science, but, it's time travel, so it is science fiction. It's a bunch of kids in 1996 get stuck in a war between people from our near future and people in 1996. And there's something terrible happening in the near future that everyone's trying to escape. But when they go back in time, so let's say me, if I'm 40 years old and I'm like, I got to go back to 1990, whatever, my 40-year-old self will swap bodies with my, 14-year-old self. So then this book is taking place from the 14-year-olds who are getting sent into the future, into their adult bodies to face wars and natural disasters and all kinds of fun stuff.
It's giving me Looper vibes.
Yeah, somebody else told me that they thought it was like that too. I still got to see that one. That's one of the few that I haven't seen.
Oh man,
travel goes.
One of my favorite movies. Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis. So good. Yeah, I love that. Love that. Now you're making me want to go see it.
I've been getting so many movie recommendations. People are like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Like, yes. Looper, haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, one of my blogger friends that I used to actually ghostwrite with, he has an awesome podcast called The Crooked Table, and it's all about like reviews of like all the different movies. I've been on his show a couple of times. We talked about like Fight Club and Confidence and things like that. And we haven't talked about Looper yet. And if he hasn't done that, now you're reminding me. I got to make a note. I got to ask him if we can jam on that. So, gosh, you're doing so much. How do you keep track of everything that you're doing? Like, do you have a content production system, a calendar? What do you do?
I have like one of those right here sitting under me, one of those desk calendars. I write everything down on that. I also have a little one that I carry around with me. So if I am out and about and I book somebody, I can real quick write it down. I use digital calendars a little bit too, but mostly I rely on this giant desk calendar.
Yeah, so you're an analog guy.
yeah, very much so. I write too on yellow legal pads before I put it on the computer. So that whole book that's coming out this summer was written by hand first and then put into a computer.
Amazing. So now in terms of for the book, are you planning on like doing like a whole press podcast, constantly like reaching out to people to promote it that way? Or how are you going to go about promoting it?
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out, go on some other podcasts, talk about it on mine. Even if it's just little, hey, before I introduce this guest today, don't forget I got a book out, that kind of thing. But I'm not sure exactly how else I'll push it into the world. I know I've got a couple other friends in the podcast community who are really good with audio visual stuff. I'm more just audio. So they said, they want to help me do something. So we'll see.
So, speaking of audio, are you going to release it as an audiobook as well? Record yourself reading the book? That's brilliant. I love it. There's
different services. ACX is the big one, but there's places that you can go through them and actually like interview and try out different voice actors too. So it's more busy stuff to put on my plate.
I think it's awesome though. So, I mean, it sounds like you're pretty busy. Like you have a lot that's going on.
Yeah. And not having the traditional, desk job helps a lot too. I can get everything that I need to get done on a Monday and a Tuesday, and then spend the rest of the week booking guests or writing or editing or whatever else I got to do.
Now, what do you do whenever you're like, you wake up on that Monday and you're like, I just don't feel like doing it, and nobody's there telling you, well, you got to do it or you're fired?
Well, I got all those kids, and so I only have a small amount of time that I can do it, and it's while they're at school. So I'm usually constantly thinking, when I talk to this person, I need to ask him this, or, in this next scene, I should be writing this. So by the time I actually get a moment to sit down, I'm usually within an hour hard at work doing something.
That's really cool. Like to know that you're actually self-disciplined to do that. Because there are moments where like I'll have a long to-do list and I'm just like, well, I could do that, or I could take a nap.
Oh yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got my days too, but just because and 2 of my 4 kids are, what are they now? They're 8 and 6. So it's a full-time job. When they're not around, it's like my speed is a lot slower than their speed. So it's it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of a reprieve, if anything.
Now, so if you weren't doing the blogging and the podcasting, what do you think you would be doing?
I had interviewed for a couple jobs doing like editing and what do they call that? Copywriting. But ultimately, days didn't work out. Hours were either too much or too little, or was too far away. So I don't know. Probably something in that sphere of things. Still writing or judging grammar somehow or another.
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned was that you like having the control, and that's why you just decided to self-publish. There's a book by James Altucher called Choose Yourself. And that's kind of one of the reasons that I decided that I really wanted to work for myself is if I'm the only one that's in control of whether or not I'm bringing in income, bringing in clients, and putting out content into the world, by choosing myself, I'm making sure that I'm getting it done the way that I want it done. I'm controlling my narrative, if you will. And so yeah, you should definitely check out that book if you haven't. It's really good. James Altucher is one of my favorite authors. He's kind of eccentric and he's wild, but his books are so good. So good.
Yeah,
I'm a big nonfiction fan. I love nonfiction books.
I've been getting into that more lately. I just read, I can never remember how to say his name. It's either Garriott or Garrio, but he was Richard Garriott is the guy who invented the first massive multiplayer role-playing game, like back before World of Warcraft and all that. And he wrote a book called Explore, Create, and just talks about, basically living your life, letting your imagination take the wheel.
Yeah.
And he's done that. He's been literally in a submarine that was underneath the Titanic, and he's been in space, and he's invented all these games, and he's worked on movies, and he's done all these things. And it just, all kind of comes from having that, like, nothing's impossible. I can do it. I don't need somebody else to make my way for me.
Exactly. So now you mentioned role-playing games. Do you play any on your own?
No, not really. But that part of his book was fascinating because of just like the sociological experiment part of it. He said that this is something that they found early, and it's held true ever since in the research that's been done, is that anytime you have a massive online world, it'll be 5% almost exactly of the people are only there to, can you swear on this or no? Okay. Are there just to fuck with other people. So, I mean, that's really not that far off from how people in the world are too. You see a lot of negative comments. People are like, oh man, I'm just going to get off Twitter because people here are so toxic. It's like, that's at best 5% of the population. They're just making the most noise. Don't worry about it.
It's true. I mean, and the funny thing is, like, there is toxicity everywhere. There really is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
it's easy to find.
Yes, it really is. And my role playing game that I'm obsessed with is Final Fantasy. I'm playing Final Fantasy 14. And Endwalker just came out, and I'm still going through Heaven's Word. I'm very obsessed with that. And it's funny that most of the people are really nice. They're really nice. But then you get that one or two that you just. They're mean.
Yeah.
I had this guy trying to mansplain to me how my character needed to be, done a certain way, and I wasn't doing it the way that he thought I should. And it's just like, just leave, man. You're ruining the whole day for me. I came here to play, and you know what I mean? But
get a life and go live it, man. Come on.
Exactly. Some people just want to make problems for everybody else. Some people don't watch the world burn.
I've seen people on YouTubers who I like outdoorsy, not totally outdoorsy. I like to hike and camp and stuff like that. There was a guy that I followed who does all these videos about, how to hike and do things super lightweight. And he did one video just being like, stop commenting that you think that people that do ultralight hiking are weak or whatever. I don't care what you think. Just stop. Don't watch my videos and then comment you're doing it wrong.
We're all doing it wrong to somebody.
Bro, don't even worry about those people. But yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. So we're kind of wrapping up on time now, but I got to ask you one thing that I have not asked you is there anything that we didn't talk about that you really wish we had?
Well, as far as blogging goes, I would tell anybody who's listening, if you're just getting started, if you've never had a job before, like a paying job, charge more money than you feel comfortable charging. Otherwise, you're going to be like, yeah, I had this job, but it took way too long to do and I didn't charge enough money. I charged somebody like $25 for something that I ended up taking almost 3 hours to write. So figure out how long it's going to take to research and write something and charge accordingly. People will pay if it's worth it.
Absolutely. That is really sound advice. And I've definitely had similar experiences. I mean, there was one one woman that I used to work for. She was known for like trying to convince people to write as cheaply as possible. And she would convince you that, oh, if you do this, I'm going to give you so much work. And then you don't even think about the fact like, oh, yeah, sure, I'm going to get so much work. But that means that I'm going to be doing like 3 times the amount of work for crappy pay.
Yeah. Yeah. People that are handing out money always lean more towards do more work, not get paid more. But get paid
exactly.
more for sure. If you're worth it and what you're doing is worth it, get paid more.
Yes. And plus, the more you write, the better you're going to get at it and the more you're going to learn what you care about. And so I feel like when it comes to blogging, the more you can do, the better, because as you keep going and keep, honing in on your craft, you're going to learn what things you actually want to become an expert in. And the more you become an expert in it, the more likely you are to actually get those paying gigs.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, well, I just want to say I appreciate your time. I feel like everything you shared was really fun, and cool. I haven't had anybody yet that's doing like a self-published nonfiction book, or excuse me, fiction book. So, so that's exciting. I can't wait to see it come out, and maybe we'll have to bring you back on and have you talk about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to tell you too, I used to play Final Fantasy back in the actual PlayStation days. Yeah. I think the last one I played was like 6 or 7. But I talked to a drummer on my podcast. His name's Jake Bryan. He's a drummer for Heartsick. And before he was in that band, he was in a Final Fantasy tribute band with guys that would meet and play with each other. I'm using air quotes online. They were all from different parts of the country. And then they would travel to these conventions, practice for a couple hours together, and then play these conventions.
That is the coolest thing. And
I know, right?
It's just mind blowing how many different ways that you can create content there are.
Yeah. If you like something, you can blog about it. You can do a YouTube show about it. You can make a tribute band about it.
There's all kinds of ways to monetize. There's plenty of money out there. You just got to find out what works for you.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.